Okay, so we're going to talk about the life cycle of an angiosperm. Remember, angiosperm just means a flowering plant. It produces a beautiful flower, as we can see our pink flower here. These are the most successful type of plant and highest on the evolutionary scale. This is a flower of a hibiscus. And so if we look at this, we can see our petals here, our sepals, and then this will be our stamen and anthers up here. And so we can see that the ovum will develop at the bottom here. But let's talk about the life cycle of this angiosperm. So angiosperms, like most plants, will go through what we call alteration of generation. Again, one more time, alteration of generation. What does that mean? Well, it's how they go through their life cycle. They will go between a sporophyte and a gametophyte phase in their life cycle. So let's look at this picture right here. In this picture, we have a sporophyte phase. A sporophyte is 2N, or what we know as diploid. The sporophyte phase is the adult plant. Here we have our full-grown adult plant. That plant will go through our gametophyte phase. It will produce pollen for the male reproductive gamete, and it will produce our ovum or egg for our female reproductive gamete. Remember, pollen is the same as sperm. If we're trying to talk between animal species and plant species, pollen would be considered sperm. If you look at this one, this sporophyte phase for this plant has both the female pistil and ovum and the male and stamen here and anther. So what is that? So this anther is where the pollen is produced. The pollen is the male reproductive, and that is a gametophyte. It will find its way to our female pistil and then into our ovum. It will fertilize that egg. Once it's gone down the pollen tube to the ovum, the sperm or pollen will fertilize the ovum or egg. From there, it will develop a fruit or seed. Then that will be dispersed. The great thing about our wonderful angiosperms or flowering plant, this one is a complete plant. That means it has both the female and male reproductive organs, which means it can self-pollinate, such as pea plants with Mendel's genetics. However, you can have angiosperms that will only have the male or female portions, being incomplete. They still go through alteration of generations. However, they will also only be able to produce either an ovum or pollen. So they can only produce one of the gametes, male or female, and they will need the other one to be produced by the other plant. So that is alteration of generation for flowering plants. Remember, we go through a sporophyte phase. That's the adult plant, mature, 2N or diploid, and a gametophyte phase. This is where we're producing pollen, aka the male reproductive, and an ovum, female reproductive, and they're 1N or haploid, having half the genetic information. Pollen will fertilize an egg to make a zygote. The zygote will then develop into a seed. The seed will grow into the sporophyte phase. Thank you.